Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So after yesterday's video I had a couple of people reach out to me with either their opinions or just kind of gratification about me having made the video about Malcons of Champions and monetization in it. But this morning when I woke up through Amazon, I checked up and I got a message from somebody who had left the game for several years. He gets actually returned to the game in January and plays it completely differently as you are about to hear in this story. Now, he shared this story nearly 40 years ago with a different content creator. And I have blanked out all the names of which content creator it was shared and his own, personal information, because the point of this video is not to point fingers at anyone and, just the fact that somebody didn't cover it earlier. Again, there is no moral judgment here because we each have our own reasons why we do or don't do something in particular. But it is important to know that this story is exactly 4 years old. However, that person who wrote this story reached out to me today. And again, as I said, he has since, made a new account, started playing very, very casually, still enjoys the game. But it definitely was quite a journey for him. So for the rest of the video, I will just read his letter word for word. And I'll leave it at that. Joking aside, first of all, I would like to tell you that I'm a big fan of your YouTube channel. It's amazing and fun, and you're by far the best MCOC YouTuber out there. Many players, myself included, look up to you and enjoy the videos you post. Kind of wish it was about me. I want to share with you my experience playing the game for almost 3.5 years. I'm sure many players and fans reach out to you for advice or comments, and maybe you read all of the fan mail, maybe you don't. I have a feeling you do, and that's why I'm going to take time to reach out to you this way. Because I think what I have to say is very different take on the game and what players usually say or post about the game. We tend to forget that there is a human side to the game and that there are actual human beings involved playing the game every day, hundreds of thousands of people with different life stories and experiences. I want to share with you my story and my experience with Malcons of Champions, with the intention and desire that after you have read all of this, you would want to make a video on your thoughts about this, and hopefully for it to be a warning of what can happen if you let yourself go to the dark corners and extremes of the game. First of all, let me tell you that a bit about myself. I'm 29 years old, successful lawyer in Mexico City, a professor in a recognized and famous university. I know I don't have the profile of the average player. In reality, you'd be surprised how many people fit similar description when they are in their early 30s, late 20s, early 40s, have a good job, have some disposable income. There are many, many people like this. I don't think it's a huge outlier in this case. First began playing MCOC in December 2014 when I was first barely out of law school. I was 25 back then, I had a girlfriend at the time, and I simply loved the game from the very start. First I didn't spend at all and only played whenever I could. But as time went by, I began spending very little at first, but it got to be more and more. I'm sure many of us are familiar with that. The game became very addictive very fast. I didn't make much money at the time, but I managed to spend about $200 to $500 every month. Began paying with a credit card and juggling finances just to keep spending. A low point was when the original Doctor Strange Crystals came. I must have spent about $1,000 till I got him. Only in retrospective do you realize the poor life decisions you make. Those moments when you start to prefer staying 3 days straight grinding an arena than going out on vacation, instead of seeing your girlfriend, hanging out with your friends or your girlfriend. The loneliness that you feel and a false sense of accomplishment when you get to succeed in the game, be it grind for a 4-star champion in the basic arena or a crystal opening to get a new champion. Self-loathing you feel when you spend $1,000 in crystals and you don't get the champion, being broke all the time, always in debt. Say that I developed a gambling addiction is a heavy understatement. showed all the signs of a junkie. Lying, selling stuff, ostracism, and I just didn't care because of all the satisfaction I got from the game. I broke up with my girlfriend mid-2015, and to say the least, I spiraled out of control. Became a black hole of loneliness. It was until January 2016 that, in a moment of clarity and almost in rage, I sold all my champions. You could do that back in the day. So that I wouldn't play anymore. I destroyed by then 250k account. Back then it was quite a big account. And life carried on. I got back with my girlfriend, got a promotion in my job, started teaching classes, paid all my debt, and even started to save money. But my heart and soul continued in the game. Even if I didn't play anymore, I still checked the forums from time to time, began watching your videos. When Mordor came up, I was recovering addict that still had that feeling and need for a fix, like a phantom pain and lingering. By 2017, I had what's maybe the worst patch I have had in my life emotionally. With a very bad depression, I managed to barely stay afloat till June, but then a girl I really liked broke my heart again. In July, when the Spider-Man movie monthly event quest was going on, I started playing again. Start from scratch with 2 stars. Spent very little at first, telling myself it's just a game you won't spend this time around. I had about 3,000 USD in savings at the time, and I started spending very little, 50 bucks here, 100 bucks there. Started playing more and more and more. Again, the same story, only I made triple money from what I made a few years back. Started spending every 2 weeks on featured crystals till I got and duped the 4-star champion. The first was Green Goblin. Quit my job in September and I got a very good severance money. Started working again by October, but I had spent almost all the money I had from the savings and my severance. It must have been around $6,000 at least in 4 months. Didn't stop spending and began playing full time in the bathroom at office, in the car, almost crashed a couple of times, and every free second I had spent in the game. Complete weekends grinding, months at a time, not sleeping, not seeing friends, not getting laid in almost 2 years, being in a very bad mood when you couldn't get a champ, and lashing out badly when after spending $1,000 in crystals. That happened to me with Blade Crystals in October, spent almost $2,000 till I got him as 4-star. You get the picture. By December 2019, I was flat out broke and in debt. To put it in perspective, I had by that time a 400k account in less than 6 months. That was a very, very rapid rate of account progression. But I got a Christmas bonus in December. Wow. Paid all my debt and still had about $5,000 left. What did I do? Spent 3 weeks on holidays playing non-stop, but I didn't spend. Not until Sentry and Void Crystals came up, and then the Killmonger, and Gladhulk, and Sentinel. I decided after I got Sentinel that was it. No more dime on the game. Must have spent at least $10,000 in those 2 months. Still managed to spend like 400 bucks on Bishop Crystals, and I got him as a 4-star. I have a 514k account at the time. All the 4-stars and 3-stars in the game up to Bishop. Yep, all of them, including Immortal Iron Fist, most of the 2 and 3 stars max SIG level, 29 5-stars, including a Duke Blade, Medusa, and Starkey. All story mode completed in less than 8 months. So at that point, virtually, he had done everything, had every champion available, or most of the champions available. Wasn't really broke until March 24th. I owed about $1,000 in the credit card, had no saving, but it wasn't that bad. I decided that I was ready to go for my first 4-star featured arena, Sabertooth. I only needed him one more 5-star to have an even 30. I was ready to grind 15 million over the weekend. When I opened on Tuesday my 5-star crystal for an even 30 champs, I duped Venompool. To say I got into a rage is an understatement. I went crazy and stubborn and decided I wasn't going to stop till I get a 5-star champion from Grandmaster Crystals. Guess what happened? $1,000 later, didn't get him. That was the wake-up call for me, or so I thought. I had known and accepted for a very long time I had gambling addiction. I just didn't care. Realizing I just had maxed out my credit card, $2,000, and I had barely enough money to scrape through the next months, I made me decide to finally quit the game. So I stopped playing, put an ad on Facebook to sell my account, told my alliance I was leaving. They were sad and shocked to lose their top boss skill in an UNAW, but they offered me an incredible amount of support, and I agreed to stay in the alley till the AW season was over. Then I saw your Sabretooth video against Masochism Nodes, saw his synergies with Killmonger. That also has a synergy with Void, got both of them, and I decided to make one last try. Just FYI, obviously, this is against terms and service, and I do not, recommend or support selling your account. I think most of the people watching my videos, are fully aware of my past, and there's a reason why I have changed my opinions about stuff like that. And I do have to point out that what he mentioned there is against terms of service. Let's carry on. I tried to find a signal that I should continue playing, so I spent my last 1,000 bucks on crystals. Didn't get him. Only that was the money I needed to pay my taxes for gas and life expenses. I literally didn't have enough money to make it through the next month. And I had a maxed out credit card. So that was when I finally quit the game. Began crunching numbers, seeing what I could pawn, calling the bank for a small loan to cover expenses. Pathetic, really. Fortunately, one member of my alliance brought my account for $550. I won't do the math, but I figured I must have spent around $15,000 in past 8 months. Those $550 allowed me to get through the next month without much of a hassle. My credit card debt worries me, but I'll figure it out somehow. That's when I grew the courage to tell you my story. I don't have any self-pity or blame Kabam or the game for my poor life decisions. They're mine and mine alone. Take full responsibility for them and their consequences. It's very easy to enjoy this great, amazing game, but it's very easy to get lost in it and forget it, that it's just a game. People should hear and know that playing this game can get to unhealthy extremes. When a game stops being a game and it becomes an obsession, an addiction, and a distraction for loneliness and depression, it's time to stop and get help. One should not avoid confronting your problems and issues by staring at all day black screen. I'm not talking about enjoying the game. I'm talking about the line that you can't cross when you reach for the darkest points of your soul. The game is not a cure for loneliness. It's not a replacement for getting laid. The false sense of accomplishment you get will never be as fulfilling as having life outside of the game. Falling in love, succeeding in your career. I want to tell you my story because the MCOC community looks up to you. Your words are almost the gospel. You reach out far greater amount of people than anyone. And that he listed several other YouTubers that I also blanked out. Hate to quote Spider-Man, but with great power comes great responsibility. How may be naive. Hope that something good can come out of all of this. Then someone can be helped by hearing my story. If someone can help me get something good from all of it, it's you. That when MCOC stops being a game, players should get help. Make a journey of introspection to figure out what's missing in their lives, keeping them from being happy. And help them understand that the game can never be a replacement for human connections. People shouldn't feel isolated by the game, and spending money on the game is not bad on itself. Spending money to feel a rush like a junkie, that will take anyone to unexpected dark places and real life problems. I saw your video about Valentine's Day, so I think you understand what I mean. Hope you can make your video players all across the globe get awareness and seek help if they find themselves in these kind of problems. Feel good about quitting the game. Finally, I can get on with my life and confront my demons head on. I'm not sure how I will pay my debts, but I'll figure it out somehow. The important thing about this is that it's not even the money, as considerable as it is the human side, the loneliness, the self-loathing you feel, the isolation. You end up losing touch about what it means to be human if you let yourself go to these unhealthy extremes. Human side is almost always forgotten, but in the end, it is the only side and aspect that's worth anything, even in a video game. And there's a bit more, but I'm not gonna get to the end. But I do think it's a important story. And I am all but willing to bet that there are many, many, many people out there who are familiar, at the very least, with significant aspects of it. When you start juggling your finances, when you start lying to your family, friends, or significant others about your plans, when you start not going out on weekends or not enjoying time with your friends, and you kind of isolate yourself because of the game. And again, to be clear, I am not trying to advocate for quitting the game, for stopping to enjoy the game. I still think this game can be, it's a very, very fun game. It's a successful game for a reason. There are good, positive aspects to be found in this game as, a relief of stress, as, a hangout place, the community of the game and people that I have met because of it. I have genuinely made close human connections. Some people who I have met in real life, had lunches, dinners, and genuinely consider friends at this point. Similar to spending on the game, there's, it's a hobby. Just like you play golf, you would spend to travel to whatever golf course, you would spend to have like some sort of membership fee to be allowed on the course, you'd spend on equipment, anything that you have fun and enjoy yourself with, is ultimately worth spending some amount of money. That's not what we're discussing here. We're discussing here when it gets out of hand and when it makes you feel isolated, when it makes you feel ashamed of yourself and just horrible. And that is this person's story. It is 4 years old story, but again, as I said, to kind of ease out of the subject, the person did make it out of his debts. They did get their life in order. 3+ years later, they actually re-downloaded the game because it is a great game and it's fun to play it. They started anew. They do spend tiny bits amount of money, but play completely differently, much more casually, much more, for the sake of themselves. So that's good on them. Unfortunately, we know that a lot of people can't get their life in order if they get too deep into all of this stuff. And I do relate myself to several aspects of this because, almost all of those emotions and those things, I have felt about myself as well. When you play, when you compromise your work by sneaking to bathrooms for 10 minutes to clear your alliance quest, when you refuse plans for I don't know, weekend out or just nice dinner or night out because you want to grind for a champion, when you sacrifice a holiday just because you want to get offers. I have been in many similar situations, not to that extreme, not to that level. I always kind of managed to pull myself back when I need it most. And overall, obviously, in last several years, I have managed to control myself much better. But I definitely relate to a lot of the things myself from this story. And yeah, I think it's good to talk about it. I think it's good to put it out there. Hence, I made the video. And that is where I will leave you. See you next time, guys. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the next